Good morning, everyone. I hope this video finds you in good and best of health and spirits. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about why we need a balanced, objective, and an ideology-free assessment of individuals. This is a very important requirement nowadays, and I would like to harp on this ad nauseum, okay, endlessly and repeatedly. What are ad hominem attacks? Before I begin this paper, I would like to talk to you about what ad hominem attacks are. Ad hominem attacks are vicious, merciless, personalized attacks against individual. This is extremely important in science. It is also gone to the extent of being incorporated as a logical fallacy in science. The term ad hominem attacks comes from a Latin word which means attacks against a person or individual. An ad hominem attack can also be caused a personal attack fallacy. It can also be called as name calling. All these three essentially mean the same thing. Okay, an ad hominem attack must be avoided at all costs in the interest of good scholarship. Therefore, we must attack the idea, not the individual. Ad hominem attacks are also necessary to maintain and preserve a modicum of high quality and robust intellectualism and scholarship. Proper epistemology must be in place if you are criticizing an individual. We also need objective, logical, rational, balanced, coherent, and self-contained scholarship. We also need a nation of and a world of proactive people, not irresponsible armchair critics. Okay, this was necessary or possible in the socialist era where people had nothing to do but to criticize the government. Okay, I'm talking about Fabian socialism here, not Marxist countries. But it is not necessarily, it's not possible now because people have the power to motivate, empower others to lead the nation, and they have the power to rise above themselves and to contribute to the country, to the nation, or to the world, or to society at large. Okay, before I continue with the rest of the paper, I would like to talk to you about positive reinforcement. What exactly is positive reinforcement? Positive reinforcement is a word that is commonly used in operant conditioning to increase the likelihood that certain behaviors will occur, positive behaviors will occur, and negative behaviors will be eliminated. Okay, this is the exact opposite of negative reinforcement. Negative reinforcement is a technique that involves removing an undesirable stimulus to encourage a desired behavior. Okay, this is completely different from punishment. Punishment mostly uses a negative and an unpleasant approach or a negative stimulus application of negative stimulus is carried out executed here. Okay, this is also part and parcel of the science of behaviorism. Behaviorism, it was proposed by Skinner, B.F. Skinner, and other people. It's a psychological philosophy that studies how people and animal learn and behave through the process of conditioning. Okay, you must also understand the concept of operant conditioning here. Operant conditioning is a learning process that uses rewards and punishments to modify voluntary behaviors. It is also known as instrumental conditioning or Skinnerian conditioning. It was named after B.F. Skinner. That is okay. What are the characteristics of good scholarship as it pertains or relates to the assessment of individuals? Okay, good scholarship, as far as the assessment of individuals are concerned, lists out both the positive and the negatives. This kind of approach is sorely lacking in present day scholarship. We either have hagiographies, I hope you know what a hagiography is, or an ideology filled hatred. Okay, we also need constructive criticism. We do not need ideology based criticism. Constructive criticism means desire to use criticism as a weapon to produce a force for the greater common good. Okay, it leads to a better society in the long run or better world in the long run. What exactly is an ideology then? We had discussed the concept of an ideology previously in a multiple of our papers at a great level of depth. An ideology is a set of beliefs that are attributed to a person or a group of individuals, especially those which are held for purely non-rational reasons. Okay, the term was coined by Antoine Destuit de Tracy, a French Enlightenment aristocrat and philosopher, A.D.T. Tracy, who conceived the concept in the year 1796 as a science of ideas in order to develop a rational system of ideas to oppose the irrational impulses of the mob. Okay. However, nowadays it is mostly associated with dogma and irrational belief. Like, for example, we have Marxist dogma or ideology, Hindutva ideology. All these boomerang and backfire and add fuel and fodder to one another because uh, they are all opposites, lie the opposite end of the spectrum. For example, Dalits are against Gandhi because they may believe either fully or partly correctly or fallaciously, may not be the case in this case, that Dalits did not do enough to emancipate them. He rose up against the rights of Harijans, but he did not discard the Hindu caste system completely. Hindutva groups are also against Gandhi. Some of them believe that he was too soft on Muslims also. And Marxists are against Hindutva groups. Hindutva groups are against Marxists because they lie at exactly the opposite end of the cultural spectrum, ideological spectrum. Okay, there are many different advantages of a balanced approach. First thing is it does not demotivate individuals who contribute and strive to do better to society. It does not demoralize individuals. It provides a just rewards and recognition mechanism. It leads to faster progress and greater scientific output. It does not tarnish the attacker's name. It leads to balanced and objective scholarship. It leads to self-contained scholarship. I've written about this previously. It's extremely important. It leads to more trustworthy and dependable scholarship. It provides a good example for others to emulate and to follow. Other researchers depend on pre-existing scholarship. Therefore, we are creating a continuous chain of scholarship. Entire chain should not go haywire. It eliminates or exterminates ideologies. It leads us towards ideology-free worlds. Nothing can help us. It can help us to learn from mistakes that other individuals commit, because Gandhi and Ambedkar also may have made mistakes. So we are able to learn from their mistakes, and then when we launch our own action plan, then we are able to overcome those mistakes. Okay, the same thing extends to the review of scholarship also. And scholarship also needs to be ideology free to begin with. If scholarship is ideology free, we are setting in motion a process that will make sure that review of scholarship is also ideology free. It's also not, we don't, it's not necessarily causation, cause and effect mechanism, but it will happen slowly and eventually. For example, you know the individual by the name of Gregory Poseli was an accomplished Indus archaeologist. I am not doubting his technological or technical prowess and skills, but he was ruthless and brutal to me, which was absurd in an absurd kind of way. And of course, when I pointed it out to the ICFAI Journal of History and Culture, they immediately accepted I was right and he was wrong, and they sent it to another individual. Okay. We must also learn to acknowledge from the good deeds of individuals. We must acknowledge the deeds of people who have made the world a better place to live in. We must imbibe good characteristics and attributes of individuals. Only losers and weaklings adopt a defeatist approach. Let's put this to a pipe and smoke it. Only strong people have the guts to pick out good points from other people and learn from them. Okay, therefore, we need a next generation of scholars, thinkers, and thought leaders who adopt an ideology-free approach. Hindutva groups may also end up bringing India, science, and Hinduism a bad name from a narrow nationalist perspective. That is, they may also damage science immeasurably in the long run. Okay, I would urge you and implore you and beseech you to read Hindutva Agni's posts on Facebook and other social media. We will understand who they are and what they are up to. Let us now review the case of Gandhi, who's only Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, who's famously known as Mahatma Gandhi. He began his career as a lawyer, attorney, MK Gandhi and Associates, I think, in South Africa. And he made a lot of money there, but he also parallelly did a lot of good things in South Africa. He fought for the rights of Indians in South Africa. In 1904, Gandhi established a Phoenix settlement in Durban for community living. In 1908, Gandhi spoke at the YMCA in Johannesburg, envisaging a South Africa where different races would commingle and live harmoniously without any bias and prejudices. Okay, he also launched several journals and publications. The name was Indian Opinion in South Africa. Ran between 1903 and 1961. Gandhi later shaped an entire nation's ideas and legacies through publications such as Young India, Navjeevan, and Harijan. However, there are some criticisms against Gandhi. He is accused of having been racist, particularly during his younger days. He ignored the rights of blacks in South Africa. He called them kafirs. He called them uncouth, uncivilized, barbaric, unclean, and unhygienic. He did not consider blacks to be equal to Indians in the view of some people. According to some sources, Gandhi also considered Indians and Europeans to be of Aryan descent and therefore genetically superior. This is sometimes contested. All said and done, to be fair to him, he was a man of his times. This is not the criticism Hindu people make about Gandhi. They have other criticisms, mostly that he was pro-Muslim and anti-Hindu. Okay, he just was trying to foster, he may have been too quixotically idealistic, and he may have been trying to harboring a foster a sense of unity, clinical unity between Hindu and Muslims. Okay, which may not have worked always. But we also have to use the term zeitgeist in this context and in this regard. Zeitgeist is a German word. It refers to the defining spirit or mood of a particular period in history, as shown by the ideals and beliefs of the time. He may have been subject to or may have imbibed consciously, subconsciously, or unconsciously all the ideas and ideals of his time. Okay, as it was noted by some biographers, imperfect Gandhi was far more radical and progressive than most contemporary compatriots. Ramchandra Guha, who is also a pro Gandhi writer, a biographer of Gandhi, writer of the magisterial book Gandhi Before India, he writes that to speak of comprehensive equality for colored people was premature in early 20th century South Africa. It simply did not exist. Most people believed innately and from their heart of hearts that whites were superior, coloreds were inferior, and blacks were at the bottom of the echelon or the rung of the hierarchy, what we want to call it. Okay, Gandhi also participated in the Boer War. He founded the Indian Ambulance Corps. He supported the British cause. He wanted to obtain Britain's help for some of his other works later in life. He likewise did so during the World Wars also. However, his confidence in the British was misplaced. As pointed out by his critics, help from the British after he helped them was not forthcoming, and he was sometimes seen by Hindutva groups and other people calling him a British stooge. But this is also a gross oversimplification because he was a much more complex personality than that. Gandhi was a multifaceted man. Gandhi, of course, returned to India famously in 1915 to fight for the behest of some other freedom fighters to fight for India's freedom struggle. Till then, Annie Besant, Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, or Lokmanya Tilak were prominent. And after the death of Lala Lajpat Rai and Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Gandhi became much more prominent. And he also supported the Khilafat movement or the Caliphate movement fully. The Khilafat movement, which was pronounced between 1919 and 1922, was a political campaign launched by Indian Muslims in British India over British policy against Turkey. It was against the planned dismemberment of the Ottoman Empire after the First World War by Allied forces. It was also a movement for the restoration of the Caliphate. Leaders participating in the movement included Shaukat Ali, Abdul Kalam Azad, Maulana Muhammad Ali, Jauhar, Hakim Ajmal Khan, and others. Okay, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, though being a Muslim, famously opposed the Khilafat movement. However, some Hindu leaders like Vallabhai Patel, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and other Congress and Hindu figures also supported the movement. Okay, critics of the support for the Khilafat movement include that this had nothing to do with India. It leaned towards extremist Islamic extremism. He wanted to, however, Gandhi wanted to draw Muslims to the independence movement. We need dialectical approaches here, multifaceted and robust intellectual scholarship here. Many voices are to be heard. We need to do a cross section of people have spoken about ethnic perspective, and this again needs to be diverse, non-biased, etc. I have written entirely about cross-cultural research design. Gandhi also participated in a movement against forced indigo plantations in Champaran and Bihar. The farmers were forced to go indigo by European planters instead of food crops. The planters used the Teen Katia system, which required Indian farmers to cultivate indigo on 15% of their land. Okay, the farmers were also paid a fixed amount per biga of land. However, they received payments if the crop was not good. If they failed to grow indigo, they were liable to pay heavy damages. Mahatma Gandhi also therefore led in this context, in this connection, the Champaran Satyagraha, which was a farmers' uprising in 1917 against the British in the Champaran district of Bihar. Gandhi also generated and instilled awareness in the masses about the need for independence from the British rule, the clutches of British rule. Okay, he also proposed non-violent methods in satyagraha. He also fostered bonhomie and camaraderie between Hindus and Muslims, or at least tried to, okay, quite valiantly and heroically. He later inspired Martin Luther King and Nelson Mandela, and he was a role model to follow for many other countries who launched their freedom movements from the colonial powers. The Quit India movement also failed, unfortunately. There was not much support from the left and from the right. Both the left and the right did not play a major role in the freedom struggle. Okay, the right also wants to talk. Let us try to be as objective and try to understand as many viewpoints as possible because things are always very complex. Issues are complex, and he also is alleged. Mahatma Gandhi also allegedly laid the model and template for minorityism. He supported the Varna system till the early 1920s. In many ways, he was an orthodox Hindu. However, he opposed untouchability. He was not a caste abolitionist, he was an untouchability abolitionist. He called outcasts Harijans, and his views later changed in life and he started opposing the caste system. The term Harijan is also opposed by Dalits. Dalits are also among Gandhi's biggest critics, and in some cases, Gandhi was idealistic and quixotic. Read his remarks on the assassination of Swami Shraddhananda by Abdul Rashid in December 1926. Okay, Swami Shraddhananda tried to convert Muslims back to Hindu. He was chastised by Islamic radicals and got killed. Mahatma Gandhi's comments on the Mopla rebellion were also seen as controversial. Okay, according to Gandhi, people need to admire the bravery of the Muslims. This was not taken very well by Hindus and did not go down very well down the throats of many Hindus. Okay, Mahatma Gandhi's son Harilal also became wayward and vagabond. That's why he was not a good parent, or he was not good husband also, because he did not administer his wife penicillin. He treated her sometimes very cruel and wickedly, according to some of his critics. He never imparted his children formal education. He denied Harilal Gandhi an opportunity to study abroad. Harilal Gandhi famously became an alcoholic and a vagabond. Harilal Gandhi even went on to state, "He may be the greatest father you have, but he was the one father I wish I did not have." Okay, Mahatma Gandhi, on the other hand, was very philosophical in this regard. He said, "I was a slave of my passions when Harilal was conceived." Again, attributing the freedom movement to Gandhi alone is oversimplistic, because other people also contributed to the freedom movement. Some of them are lesser known. The large plethora and spectrum of individuals involved. Okay, and India won its freedom due to a complex set of reasons. India won its independence due to British losses, casualties suffered during the Second World War, and the election of Clement Attlee as the British Prime Minister. Efforts by Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose was associated with the Indian National Army also helped to a great degree. The INA was formed in 1942 by Mohan Singh with the help of the Japanese Empire. Raj Behari Bose led the INA till April 1942 when he handed over the leadership to Subhash Chandra Bose. Okay, the failed Royal Indian Naval Mutiny of 1946 also played a part. The mutiny began on February 18, 1946 and lasted till February 25th, 1946. Okay, this also all these factors led to the British granting India independence. Okay, and now if we also analyze other individuals like Mother Teresa, she did a lot of good work, charitable work. She took care of the sick, dying, destitute, and needy in the slums of Calcutta. And some early books that praised her were Something Beautiful for God, published in 1971 by Malcolm Muggeridge on Mother Teresa. There were, however, some hygiene issues associated with her nunneries, monasteries, and with her hospitals. And absence of anesthesia being was also not was anesthesia was also not properly administered in many cases. She was also guilty of having. She also was accused of having indulged in proselytization. Christopher Hitchens, who hosted the television documentary Hell's Angel, which was directed by Jenny Morgan, also was a critic. Anup Chatterjee also was a critic. Okay, according to her critics, she was a friend of. She was not a friend of the poor, but a friend of poverty. There was a tendency to glorify poverty in those days. Okay, and now if we come to Nehru, Nehru laid the foundation for industrialization in India. He launched many institutes of higher learning in uh, India. However, there are many criticisms of Nehru. He neglected basic and primary education. He also believed in Fabian socialism, which was in vogue at the time. Therefore, again, we need to remember the concept of zeitgeist here. This led to a Hindu growth rate, a term that was coined in the year 1978 by Indian economist Raj Krishna. C. Rajgopal, there are many other people who criticized Nehru. C. Rajgopalchari also, for example, did not believe in socialism. He believed it would lead to corruption and red tape. K. N. Raj also did not support socialism. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel also did not support socialism and was right leaning. However, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose was left leaning and supported communism. P.C. Mahalanobis supported socialism. D.T. Kosambi supported Marxism and accused Nehru of being too right oriented. Okay, therefore, there was a great opportunity loss associated with Nehru. Had it not been for his policies, India would have become richer much faster, much sooner. However, and India wasted many decades after independence. However, we must bear into account, take into account the consideration, take into account the consideration the fact that uh, in developing countries, laissez-faire capitalism at that time was not very popular or recommended by most people. Therefore, we need via media approaches like bottom-up approaches and trickle-up approaches. Now, if we come to Ambedkar, Ambedkar valiantly and heroically fought for the annihilation of caste. He fought for the entry of Dalits into temples, and he later famously renounced Hinduism himself in, I think, Nagpur a few months before his death in 1956 or so, and he embraced Buddhism. Okay, the temple entry movement began in 1927 at the Kalaram Temple in Nasik and was started by him. He was also the architect of India's constitution. Ambedkar famously clashed with Gandhi and was his biggest critic. Okay, they however reached a compromise known as the Pune Pact in 1932. Okay, however, on the other side, that there was some unpleasantness. There was some unpleasantness associated with this approach. He was known for his diatribes against Hindus. He also fought monochromatically for the rights of the elites and ignored many other issues. Therefore, he was not comprehensive or composite in this approach, and consequently and resultantly may not have made a good prime minister. He also stands accused of having ignored the rights of scheduled tribes. However, some Hindutva groups may appear to support Ambedkar due to vote bank politics. Okay, so we need to understand all aspects of issues here, which is very important. Talk to as many different people as possible. Cross-cultural scholarship is extremely important and will yield good dividends. Okay, even dialectic approaches and auto dialectics, as we call them. Likewise, Periyar also was a critic of many of Gandhi's policies. Periyar represented Dravidian nationalism and opposed North Indian hegemony bitterly. He also opposed casteism and caste domination by Upper caste Hindus. Now, if we come to Narasimha Rao, he was an architect of liberalization along with Dr. Manmohan Singh. He was a polyglot and a learned and erudite individual. He was also called Chanakya, or the wise man. Chanakya was an ancient Indian teacher, philosopher, Indian jurist. He served as the chief advisor and prime minister to both the Empress Chandragupta Maurya and his son Bindusara. P.V. Narasimha also kept critics of liberalization at bay. He steered the liberalization program in the face of adverse criticism by many of his own party members and from those of other political parties. He also kept the unconstitutional Gandhi family at bay because they had a unwelcome and unfortunate legacy of over domination by the Gandhi family. Okay, I'm talking about the Congress party. Manmohan Singh also was an architect of India's reforms. He's a hero of aspiring Indians and middle class Indians. He was an erudite and talented scholar. He had impeccable economic credentials. He also laid the foundations of the MGNREGA, a rural employment guarantee program. However, he was seen by some people as being too soft, too silent. He allowed himself to be ridden roughshod by other people. He was seen to be, in extreme cases, a weakling and as a puppet of the Gandhi family. He was also seen to be as a figurehead and a rubber stamp. So every person will have myriad facets, including myself. Okay. Therefore, we hope that people will pursue a more balanced, nuanced, intricate, and objective approach to scholarship. It's extremely important, and we need to have. We don't need oversimplifications here. Okay, oversimplification is an anathema of good science, and we need to set a trend for future generations of scholars to follow. This will greatly improve the quality of scholarship and research. This will serve as a heuristic guide for other individuals and scholars. With this, I conclude my speech. Thank you very much for participating or listening to me.